Hi, my name's Stephanie. I'm here at PAX South with DVS Gaming, and I'm going to be talking with Carter, and he is a gameplay designer.
Hi.
So Carter, I know you have a couple new characters here that were announced today. What can you tell me about these new characters?
Yeah, so we're announcing 2 characters today and revealing them, so you can check them out, see footage of them. One of them is Griselma. She's a summoner. She summons these hands that come out of the ground and attack people. And the other one is Mozo over here. You can see him. He is a ranged caster all about arcane magic and blowing people up.
Okay, well, what actually goes into designing these characters?
Yeah, so with all the characters, we kind of want to fit them into someone's playstyle. So we want to have a playstyle represented in the game for people who come from different gaming backgrounds and genres and everything. So, you know, if you want to play a shooter, we have a character for that. If you want to smash people in the face, we have a number of characters for that. If you want to stay in the back lines and snipe people, we have a character for that. If you want to be a trickster, kind of mess with people's heads, we have a character for that. And so, you know, when we're designing these new characters, we're constantly trying to fill, like, what void do we have in our roster, and how can we fill it? So for Griselma, for example, we have one of our designers is actually, admittedly, terrible at Twitch aiming. And so, you know, like, he can play melee characters, he's actually good at them. But as far as, like, any sort of ranged character or anything like that, like, just, you know, there was no character for him. So that's how we set out designing her originally, was like, okay, how can we make a character for someone who sucks at aiming? And that was kind of the philosophy behind her, really, when we started. And so it turned out like, okay, so what does she do? Well, she's all about positional control. So, and kind of overall high-level strategy of like, okay, if you're not worried about aiming, then you can be more focused on the battlefield and what's going on at any, on like a bigger map-wide scale. So what she does is summons these hands that come out of the ground. She can place 3 of them, or you can upgrade them to place 5 of them. But so you can either like keep an area on lockdown, or you can kind of position them a little bit around the map to kind of deter people from going there. So she's really all about strategy. And then Mozo, the void there was, we want a caster who's all about shooting bolts and killing people. And that was really the entire concept for him. So he actually came together probably one of the fastest to come together of any of our characters, because that was the vision, and it happened. Like, you know, we prototyped him, I think Finney prototyped him in like a day or 2, and then he was in the game, and we just rolled with him. So that's another thing that's really important to us is getting stuff in the game. So we're doing rapid prototyping. We do play tests every day, and every day it's a new build. So, you know, at 12:30, that's the cutoff for stuff that's going into the game that you're playing at 4 o'clock. So we're all about rapid iteration. So, you know, when we prototype a character, we're grabbing like models from other existing characters and like throwing new textures on them to make them look different. And it's very kind of hectic, but it all comes together because we get it into the game, we start getting feedback from our internal playtests, and then we just make them better and better.
Okay. And you have a new map too?
Yeah, so the map that you're seeing today, if you're watching any PAX footage, is our Canyon map, which is a little bit tighter and more controlled than the last map we had. So the idea there, like the other map we had, was kind of bigger, wider open spaces, and you know what we were finding when we were designing it, and when we were having new people come in and play it, you know, it was a little bit confusing. Like people are getting lost. You know, it's a PvP game. You know, there's not like we can put tutorials in it or anything. You know, so like we want the map to speak for itself. So we set out to make kind of a more controlled map where it's obvious, where you need, it's a little easier to stick with your team, and so that's the map that we made, and that's the map we're revealing today.
Okay. Well, can you tell me a little bit about the strategy for the game, or for maybe the new map in general?
Yeah, so the strategy of the game it's mostly about map control. So what you're trying to do is power up your Guardian. Your Guardian goes over, knocks the other Guardian over, and you do a bunch of damage to him. But, you know, in order to do that, you really have to have control of the map. So that's why the map is such a key component to our game. You know, that's why we're not pumping out 20 different maps and just shoving them out there, because we do so much iteration on the maps to make them feel right. And another thing that goes into the maps is when the Guardians are rampaging across the map, they're destroying terrain, they're altering the battlefield. So, you know, the map might start out one way, and then by the end of the game, you know, like half of it is destroyed, and it plays completely different.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking your time to speak with us.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice meeting you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.